Good morning and welcome back to Coffee and Headlines. Today is Monday, June 1st. It's the first day of the month. It's the first day of the new normal. It's time to see what is going on around the world and around our world here in Puerto Vallarta. If you're new to these broadcasts, we get together every morning live at 10:30 in the morning and we share news, headlines, stories that help us connect with one another, that help us stay optimistic and positive and creative, and to help us navigate together this new normal to which we have been graciously thrown into by a virus and all kinds of implications. But you know about that better than I do. Also, if you're new to these broadcasts, just feel free to type the word "new" in your comments so that we can give you a proper welcome. And my name is Paco. And I'm going to take a quick look at who's here. I see a lot of familiar faces. And yes, Claude is correct on saying the new normal starts maybe today. Well, actually, it starts today. And I have all kinds of important headlines and news and updates that relate to our life, either as citizens, as consumers, as business owners. Today, we really have a little bit of something for everybody. So without further ado, I'm going to jump into the news because we have quite a bit of stuff to cover. So let's get on with it. Okay, for starters, El Mural de Guadalajara, the newspaper from Guadalajara, tells us that it is anticipated that 75,000 businesses will reopen today, approximately. There are about 380,000 businesses in the state, out of which 200,000 were already functioning because they were considered essential. But now some of the non-essential businesses start to open. Of course, we know that something that everybody is wondering, well, who can open or who cannot open? Well, here are the indicators that the state of Jalisco is using to determine what's going to happen. Before I dive into this, just a quick recap. We know that businesses that were essential continue working as usual. Restaurants that were open from before do not need to go through this certification process because they were considered essentials to begin with. Businesses that were not essential, a while back ago, we related to those or referred to those as, if they sell it at a major supermarket, you can reopen. So those are businesses that are allowed to open today if they have gone through the proper certification and gone through submitted their paperwork, have received their sticker. But I'll have a comment on stickers in a second. This also means that by the book, I can go buy underwear at the supermarket because now the non-essential stuff is available again. Of course, it's early in the morning. I have not gone to supermarket or Costco or Walmart or any other stores where they had made certain things unavailable. If anybody is watching today and you've gone to supermarket this morning or to Costco or Sam's or whatever, and you have reports of what's going on around the city, it would be great to know. So anyhow, we know that non-essential businesses are able to open today. We know that the federal government decided that the whole country was in the red. We know that a group of states in the country gave those guidelines the finger. And we know that our very own rogue Governor Enrique Alfaro decided to throw everything out the window and say, we're going to do things our way because we believe in the health professionals and the business and economy professionals that are supporting us. So what will Jalisco be looking at moving forward? Okay, now I can go back to this little graph that I was getting ready to show you. The government of Jalisco, our state, will look at three specific factors. Number one is the intensity of the mobility. This has to do with how much we're going out on the streets, how much we're out and about. We know that we are expected to continue to be indoors and only go out for essential stuff. That hasn't changed, even though the safe distance campaign has ended officially. It ended on Saturday. This has not changed. The government still recommends and expects that we will, number one, keep safe distance at all times, and number two, continue to stay home unless we have to go out for essential business or to go shopping. We've been doing this for over 2 months. The second parameter that the government of Jalisco is going to look at is how fast the disease is spreading in our state. And the government is looking at active cases. And as long as we remain under 800, we're doing good. And then the percentage of positive cases, the government makes a number of tests of cases that might be COVID-19. And as long as the percentage of those tests remains under 35%, we continue in the green. And last but not least, part of the monitoring has to do with the mortality rate, or morbidity rate rather. And in our case, the morbidity rate for our state is 1.5 or 1.5, actually 1.5 for every 100,000 inhabitants. As long as it remains under 8, we are good to go in our state. And again, I emphasize these guidelines have to do with what is going on in the state of Jalisco, have nothing to do with what you may read about what we can or cannot do nationwide. This is what our governor decided he would do for us. Now, the third parameter that our government, the state of Jalisco, is looking at is the capacity of our hospitals to be able to take care of patients. And this has to be under 40%. According to the graph right now, the hospitals in the state of Jalisco are operating at 19.2% of its capacity, of their capacity. So according to the government of our state, and I'm going to say this a million times because this may or may not jive with what Lopez-Gatell and the federal government is saying. We are good to go. Now, we're good to go, and that we're on the green. It doesn't mean that it's time to go out to the beach. The beach is still closed. It's not time to go swimming. It's still not possible. It's no time to have big parties. It's not time to get cozy with friends. Life as we now live it continues. And little by little, if we continue to be careful and cautious and protect ourselves and others with our actions, we will continue to be able to navigate the world in a better way. Now, again, something that is important to know is that even though Governor Alfaro said the only businesses that will be able to open today, non-essential businesses, will only be able to open if they have the sticker. It is also possible that you have not received your sticker. So the government of Puerto Vallarta, our mayor, has indicated that even if you have not received your sticker yet, if you have the proper registration with the system, I'm sorry, I'm picking my nose. I had fun playing with Luna earlier today, and I think she got all over my nose. If you have submitted your papers, if you have submitted your letter of commitment, and you're just waiting for the sticker, and the sticker hasn't arrived, you will be able to open today, according to the local government, according to our mayor. So this means that, let's say that you opened your business today, and the people from inspection come and check out what's going on. They might say, hey, where's your sticker? And if you show them the paperwork that you've gone through the motions and all you're waiting for is to get the sticker, you will be able to get going with your shop this morning. Of course, this is all happening while we're looking that the number of cases in Puerto Vallarta is increasing. Just this weekend, 20 new cases were detected in Puerto Vallarta, according to Contralinea. And here is where something really important plays. And we've talked about this before, and we're going to talk about it over and over again. We know that the cases are increasing not because things are going wrong. Well, I mean, some people are not following safe distance guidelines. Some people are not wearing face masks. We know that. But the number of cases is increasing because that is the natural progression of the virus. We have to remember that in the state of Jalisco, the numbers are still going up. We have not yet reached the peak of cases in the state of Jalisco. So we have two choices. We have the choice of looking at the numbers and getting all freaky, and a lot of people are getting very freaky, or we have the choice of saying, well, breathe deeply and focus on the things that we can control or we cannot control. And again, that is a matter of personal conviction and a matter of personal attitude about what's going on in our surroundings. Of course, in Mexico City, they have now announced that the use of face masks everywhere you go is mandatory. And I bring that up to you because in the state of Jalisco, it is also mandatory to wear your face mask wherever you go. And this is by disposition of our governor. And it's something that I know some people are disregarding now. And I don't know what to tell you. Again, we cannot go out policing people. It is not our place. We can gently persuade our friends. We can gently take care of our own and ourselves. But I know, and I've seen on Facebook an increasing level of tension, even among friends, people posting on Facebook all kinds of things, personal convictions, and then other people getting aggressive and attacking. You know, it is unfortunate that our own level of uncertainty and fear leads us to that kind of behavior. Before we jump into a little bit of news about the state of Nayarit, I want to play you a short video, the latest video that the governor released, and it's a little bit of an encapsulation of all these new policies. It is, of course, in Spanish, so I'll play and pause so that we can navigate this together.
La Mesa de Salud tomó determinaciones de ajustar estrategias en tres aspectos centrales.
The Health Committee decided to adjust strategies in three key areas.
Primero, el poder tener un sistema de monitoreo georreferenciado que ya presentamos y que está listo y funcionando.
The first one is to have a geographically based system of monitoring that we have tested and is already working. What this means is that the state of Jalisco has the ability to know where the cases are happening and is able to monitor their evolution accordingly.
La capacidad prácticamente de triplicar elaboración de pruebas.
The second one is we are tripling our capacity of being able to do testing.
Tercero, ajustar el plan de reconversión hospitalaria para que en la medida que va a ir incrementándose la presión sobre nuestro sistema hospitalario, nosotros tengamos condiciones para que esta infraestructura nunca se vea rebasada.
And the third aspect is to be able to increase our hospital capacity so that whenever we feel like we're getting to a point in which we cannot handle the cases, we're going to be over that threshold. In other words, we will be proactive in making sure that we don't run out of hospital beds.
Gracias al modelo Radar Jalisco que hemos hecho con la Universidad de Guadalajara y con algunos laboratorios privados que se han sumado, nos han permitido identificar más de 700 casos positivos que no.
Thanks to our grid of testing that is done through our own radar system and a few private labs throughout the state, we have been able to identify a large number of cases and monitor them.
Hubiéramos identificado sin esa estrategia. Ahora,
and we would not have been able to identify them without having this whole network of labs working together.
En esta nueva etapa que vamos a comenzar, pues tendremos entonces también más casos positivos identificados porque vamos a estar haciendo más pruebas.
In this new phase that we're starting, we will be able to detect more cases on time because we're going to increase the number of tests that we're going to perform here in the state of Jalisco.
Herramienta que ya nos permite tener una georreferenciación de los casos para poder hacer el seguimiento. Esto es
This is, he's explaining this new tool that is going to allow the government of Jalisco to follow up where the cases are happening so that they have a better control of how to handle the process of opening, reopening, monitoring, and so forth and so on.
Esta va a ser una herramienta central en la estrategia para poder bajar el riesgo en una etapa en la cual vamos a ir poco a poco reactivando la economía.
This is a tool that is essential for us to be able to move forward progressively, patiently, cautiously, so that we can continue to reactivate our economy.
Haciendo alrededor de 400 pruebas en promedio al día y se seguirá fortaleciendo su realización. Al corte de anoche para
We are now conducting about 400 tests a day, and we're going to continue increasing that number.
Jalisco se han realizado 18,622 pruebas.
As of last night, which is 2 nights ago, the state of Jalisco has done 18,622 tests.
Total.
Estas dos pruebas, las SELEX, las pruebas rápidas que ha adquirido el gobierno del estado, que son fundamentales, tendrán que conjugarse con las pruebas PCR y con esto y otras estrategias podremos limitar grandes rebrotes posteriores a el reinicio de las actividades.
Here he's talking about two types of tests. The government has acquired rapid tests, and there are also these PCR tests. And those two types of tests are going to work together to continue being able to do the strategy properly.
Va a tener a finales del mes de junio
By the end of
664 pruebas por cada 100,000 habitantes.
Jalisco will have 664 tests for every 100,000 in population.
Propuesta del gobierno, estar monitoreando y estar midiendo de manera permanente y de manera masiva.
And this is how we're going to move forward. We're going to be testing massively and we're going to be testing permanently.
Establecimos dos grupos de empresas y van.
This is important. I want to stop here because there's explaining how this whole thing is working for businesses. Taking a look at this chart, it says PCR tests for businesses, and the top section says how many PCR tests are businesses expected to do. And if your business is 100 staff or less, you have to do at least one test, one test every time it is indicated by the government, and then in parentheses it says it could be like one test every 21 days. And we remember that if you have less than 100 staff members, the government is helping small businesses to conduct these tests. And then if you have more than 100 staff members, you have to perform one test every 15 days. And then in the bottom line, it says, where do you do the testing? If you have less than 100 employees, you use the Radar Jalisco system, which is a toll-free number, which we have been having access to report possible cases. And then if you have more than 100 employees, it indicates the private labs to which you can go and perform your tests. Moving on.
Diferente compromiso para ayudarnos a hacer el monitoreo de muestras y de casos. El sistema, la plataforma CIRA, que es donde todas las empresas para la reapertura se han estado registrando, va a ser una plataforma bastante interactiva en donde vamos a poder tener mucho del monitoreo de lo que está pasando en el sector productivo.
Okay, this had something to do with the same website where you engaged in reopening your business and where the protocols are. Apparently that website is going to add more levels of interactivity where all the information about the testing is going to become available.
La que nosotros necesitamos es que los hospitales no se vean saturados ni nos veamos rebasados en la capacidad de la atención a todos los ciudadanos.
What is most important to us is that our hospitals continue to have the necessary capacity for us to be able to take care of all the citizens of
La
Jalisco.
ocupación hasta el momento es del 16% solamente. Es
Right
decir,
now, hostel
tenemos ya
occupation is
en la primera fase
16%,
más del 69.8% de las camas listas para su ocupación. En Lagos de Moreno tenemos el 5%, que correspondería a una tercera etapa. Tenemos dos hospitales que son el Hospital Geriátrico, que está al lado del General de Occidente, y el Ángel Leaño, que ya están también muy avanzados en tener listas las camas, y la cuarta etapa, que sería ya la integración de los hospitales regionales y del Fray Antonio Alcalde.
And that was the video that Governor Alfaro presented yesterday. Let me take a quick look at your questions before we move on to the state of Nayarit, just to make sure that if you have specific questions, I am able to address them as best as I can. That is not, yes and no, Dave. We are expected to be home, but if you need to go out and get a bucket of paint, you go out, you get your bucket of paint, and you come back home. It's not necessarily weird. It's simply, what the government is expecting is that you don't spend a lot of time out and about, that you're in places where there's going to be a lot of crowds and so forth and so on. Is it weird? Of course it's weird. The new normal is weird. It's weird for everybody. You're welcome. Yes, the state is now working with private labs to be able to conduct tests. At least the state of Jalisco is. Where these labs are located in Puerto Vallarta, I don't know. I haven't gotten that far in my research. I know that in the past, some people have expressed desire to go and get tested just for the peace of mind. And I don't know. The last time we talked about this, it was like 2 weeks ago. So I don't know exactly what the location of these labs are, or whether they're even located in Puerto Vallarta. Yes, that's precisely what I think I tried to say. And yes, David, you're right. It is a difficult thing to try to explain to the public. You're absolutely correct. It is very frustrating. But in the process of doing that, again, we are not police people. We are not enforcers of the law. And I think a lot of people, as part of our anxiety, a lot of people kind of feel like it is their duty or our duty to, go out and police everybody. There's only so much we can do. And the best thing we can do is to start by taking care of ourselves and our loved ones and our friends. So if we received an email that we have been approved, but as a bar are not considered non-essential, we still cannot open even though we have been validated. That is correct. If you're a bar, you're not allowed to open yet. And that it is unfortunate. What I would suggest Apaches or any bar that is just itching to open is, well, no, you cannot do that. I was going to suggest work with a nearby restaurant, but if your license to operate doesn't include the license to serve food at your location, then unfortunately you have to wait. Julian missed the start of today's podcast. Actually, Julian, the way things work here is you can always watch the entire broadcast from the very beginning. After the broadcast is over, that's probably the best thing that you can do. The good thing about what we do is that we go live at 10:30, but immediately after the show is over, which usually a little bit after 11, you can catch it from the beginning, or you can catch the broadcast on YouTube at any time. Thank you so much for your time. Oh, thank you. This is fun. Okay, now I do want to move on to Bahía de Banderas because things are slightly different up there. We had seen some news and headlines through the weekend to the effect that some website was blaming the governor for not getting his act together. And the governor of Nayarit indeed said Bahía de Banderas is not ready to open certain things, amongst them the hotels. And then he has these graphs that don't stay still long enough. So I've decided to download them and share them with you. this is what's going on in the state of Nayarit and for our intents and purposes in Bahía de Banderas. North of the border, businesses that can open at 30% capacity. This is different than Jalisco. Jalisco can open at 50% capacity. Actually, no, that's not true. Jalisco offered a guideline in which, according to the number of square meters in your business, you can let people in, but that's information that we've already discussed. In Nayarit, you can open at 30% capacity if you're a paint store, if you sell electrical components, clothing and shoes, appliances, sporting goods, fabrics, bicycles, car, motorcycle, and bus agencies, and furniture and appliance things. So those things can open now in Nayarit at a 30% capacity. In terms of services, if you sell or manufacture crafts, if you work with aluminum or glass, if you offer plumbing or electrical services, if you fix appliances, if you repair shoes, if you're a gardener, if you are a salon, a hairstyling place with a previous appointment. And Nayarit has opened at 30% capacity spaces, outdoor spaces where you can exercise, and restaurant service. So Nayarit is more limited than Puerto Vallarta. Then things that cannot open in Nayarit just yet include hotels and motels, gyms, spas, recreative centers, beaches, bars, venues, nighttime venues, event halls, casinos, schools, churches, swimming pools, movie theaters, and theater venues, bureaucratic activities that are not essentials, libraries, parks, shopping centers, including the shops within them, and any other activity that gathers more than 30 people at a time. So this is what's going on in Nayarit. And Christina tells us that none of that stuff opened because they painted their entire house. Good for you. Botanical Gardens is reopening tomorrow. Good for them. And I now live in Nayarit. There are no masks everywhere. Well, Lisa, wear yours if you feel that you have to wear yours. And again, if other people are not wearing their masks, we can wish them horrible things, or we can wish for them to take better care of themselves. But unfortunately, there's nothing we can do. Do I know the current restrictions from those people over 60 years of age? Yes, I do. They haven't changed. If you are over 65 in the state of Jalisco and you have pre-existing conditions, heart disease, pulmonary disease, you're still expected to stay home. And this is something that hasn't changed. Along those lines, in the state of Jalisco, or here in Puerto Vallarta for that matter, access to the beach has not changed. We cannot go to the beach. Opening of hotels is allowed, but at 50% capacity without the use of common areas. I mean, none of that stuff has changed. Essentially, we're still pretty much in the same place as we were before. But the difference between Friday and today is that now we have a clearer idea of what our state is using to monitor things in our own state. So again, as we announced earlier, the guidelines for Mexico as a country, the federal guidelines will continue to be slightly different than the ones for our state. So it continues to be a little challenging to share this information with people that might say, well, I read it I watched on television that Mexico, the country, says this thing, but the state says another. It's going to be complicated. An important question from Jeff. Hello, Jeff. It's nice to see you, Jeff. Jeff says, does that mean that people over 65 must be refused service? By the book, yes. So if you have somebody over 65 that comes to your shop and you choose not to serve them, you will be doing the same thing that La Comer is doing, that Walmart is doing, they will get huffy and puffy, and they may curse you and never choose to come back to you again. It only boils down to how much you want to follow the guidance or not. You know that you're going to get in trouble if an inspector comes to your business and they see people sitting at your table that are over 60 or 65 years of age, because you're supposed to know the rules and you're supposed to follow them. So act at your own risk. And David supports me. Yay. You have shown that the pools are open. Is this in a private facility only? I have shown that the pools are open. I'm sorry, Sharon, but I don't believe I have shown that the pools are open. So if you remind me of where I showed that pools are open, I will be happy to answer your question. Now, that said, I have a friend, for example, that lives in a condo unit here in Puerto Vallarta, and their own condo decided that people can use the pool if they sign up for specific times. So again, the government does not monitor private buildings. If your building decides to come up with a system in which you can use the pool and you feel comfortable using the pool knowing that the next door neighbors that you don't even know were touching the handrails and things like that, that's entirely your call. But no, we have not shown that the pools are open anywhere, I think. And if I did, I'm sorry, because that's not what the government is saying we should be doing. I did say, however, that I went upriver and I went swimming. Yes, I did, and I loved every minute of it, and I'm still peeling. But that's what I needed to do for my own peace and my own sanity. I don't think, and again, this is my opinion, not the guideline. If I go up hiking in the mountains and there are no people anywhere to be seen, I don't think I am at risk, at least not at risk of COVID-19. And I don't think I am putting anybody else at risk. And that's my personal choice. Somebody has asked me as to where I go when I go up to the mountains, and I'm putting a little something together just so you know where I choose to go. And you can use that information or shame me for it, your choice. Anyhow, speaking of shaming, headlines are over. Let's talk a little bit about leisurely stuff before we end our broadcast. I am so grateful that you're all here. And of course, if you were following the news during the weekend, and this was important to at least some of us, SpaceX took off. SpaceX went to the space. They took off on Saturday. On Sunday, they connected with the International Space Station, and it was really fun to watch because it felt a little bit like, I watched the video last night, and the astronauts got out of their little vehicle and they got into the International Space Station, and they floated in a little line next to the astronauts that were already there, and then they proceeded to have this half an hour back and forth thank you marathon with dignitaries from NASA and politicians and stuff like that. And I kept thinking to myself, I'm sure these astronauts that just landed, I mean, they must be dying to take a piss or something. And the last thing that must be going through their minds must be having to say thank you. No, thank you. And thank you for going on space. Oh, well, thank you for thanking us. And thank you for being a beacon for America. Well, thank you for thanking us for being a beacon for America. They reminded me of those two polite gophers that we used to see on the cartoons, the Warner Brothers ones, the Goofy Gophers. I don't know if you remember the Goofy Gophers. They were very polite with one another. So I am sure that the space that the astronauts, handle their, thank you, back and forth, and then they just jumped into work. But if you're curious as to what happens next, our friends at Vox have put together this wonderful article that gives us a sense as to what happens next. What did this trip mean to the space industry, and what will happen with the space program next. Hopefully, it'll also help us figure out how to survive, the thank you and back and forth thank yous that politicians seem to enjoy so much. No, those are not Chip and Dale. No, 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 no. Don't get confused, my dears. Chip and Dale were Disney, I think. These are the Warner Brothers Goofy Gophers, and they were different. You gotta watch your cartoons. Sorry about the finger. Anyhow, that's what's going on with SpaceX. There was an interesting article that I won't bother to translate. I'll share the link and I'll talk about this a little bit. This has to do with jogging and walking people in Mexico City. Of course, Mexico City, we've just read about the fact that we have to wear face masks, but a lot of us are missing fitness in one kind or another, whether it is that we're walking briskly or jogging, et cetera, et cetera. And again, we need to remember that we're entering entering is a funny word because we are now living in risk. It's no longer about the new normal has to do with being careful, but it also has to do with learning to choose the risks that we choose to learn for ourselves. And that's nothing new. I mean, when you go out and have sex with a perfect stranger and it's dark and cozy, you just don't know what kind of germs are, lurking down there in the Midlands. So, and if you go out and go on a date with somebody that smokes tobacco, we know that we're going to inhale it, and that's a risk that we choose to take. So this new normal is no different than before. I mean, the parameters are slightly different because of the way the virus spreads, but essentially we're learning to take risks for ourselves. Back to jogging. People in Mexico City, they're going out walking and exercising early in the day in places where there's not a lot of people. Some people wear bandanas instead of face masks because it's difficult to breathe. People avoid one another. Again, this is all a matter of choosing what we choose to set up as a model of comfort level for ourselves. And the last bit of news that I have for you is that Moderato, who it's a heavy rock band in Mexico, they will become the first group in our country to offer a car concert. Welcome to the new normal. There is a venue outside of Mexico City. Check them out. There they are. Yeah. And they're going to be offering a concert on August the 7th. And they have this little illustration here that shows us a 360-degree venue where you can watch it from all around. And we see all kinds of cars parked around it and enjoying the concert from the cars. I can't help but to find that a little bit funny if you consider a bunch of rockers just very, very efficiently sitting in their cars, maybe puffing their own weed on their own. I don't know what's going to happen, but it seems funny, but this is part of the way we are going to have to learn to enjoy concerts until there are vaccines and other kinds of things. But again, it's great to see that at least some of the performance activities are starting to find ways to stay alive in our country, and I'm sure that other similar expressions will continue to unfold. Let me take a quick look. I felt the political plugs were inappropriate and boring. That probably has to do with the space greetings and thank yous and stuff like that. Yes, I also feel that those political plugs are inappropriate and boring, but it's part of what they feel they have to do. Thank you, and thank you back. I wish we could be there looking at and walking to Malecon and the beach, but I am lucky enough to be in my own backyard watching baby deer. Oh my God, how wonderful. Sherry, please send us some photos if you can, because that would be absolutely wonderful for us to see. This is correct. We cannot walk the Malecon or beaches or street. It's so different. Again, I choose to go walking in my neighborhood, which is behind my neighborhood it is primarily residential. I live near Fluvial. So if I'm walking briskly, at least I look like I'm going from one place to another for something essential. And I know that I'm just walking for, to get some exercise. The effects of this virus are beyond horrible for older folks. Absolutely. Yes, that would be Mac and Tosh from the Looney Tunes. Darlene, you get a special prize. I don't know what that special price is, but you get a special prize. Thank you for that. Yes, Macintosh, thank you very much. Earl, my dear friend from Provincetown, Massachusetts, and Boston, so many years traveled. Thank you very much for tuning in, dear friend. And with that in mind, I think we've reached the end of today's broadcast. Moving forward, things are going to change. They're going to continue to change. We know for a fact that the government of Jalisco is going to update their charts and figures and parameters on a weekly basis. So we will continue to monitor things every day as we do. We will continue to share our nice balance of hard, important news with leisurely stuff to keep ourselves occupied and entertained and inspired and creative. And on Sundays, we will continue to be absolutely crazy and silly and potty-mouthed as we were yesterday. Yesterday, Coffee and Headlines Sunday Funday edition was a lot of fun. We continue to review our knowledge of Mexican curse words, and then we talked about other naughty bits, including whether we sweat down there or we sweat under the breasts. I mean, nothing is sacred on Sundays. Tomorrow we will be back at the usual time. And as always, spread the word, because this is something we can do. You know, we cannot tell people, you know, wear a bandana, wear a mask, do this or do that, but we can spread the word on positive messages, on sources of information. I hope if you've been enjoying the information that we share here, that you will take some time to recommend this broadcast among your friends. And because I'm starting to ramble, I'm going to cue the little house. Luna was here, but she's gone. She decided to go explore other parts of the house. Otherwise, I would have her say a quick hello. This is it. And hopefully I'll see you again tomorrow. Have a great day.